Hi, I'm Tessa Williams. Welcome to Life the Battlefield. I was Australia's former BDSM queen, and today I've come face to face with the current Queen of BDSM.
Good morning. Hello. How are you? It's very good to see you.
Well, introduce yourself for us.
Hi, I am Mistress Lucilla.
Yeah.
I have been in the industry for 25 years, just made it. And I was recently given this golden crop to celebrate. What a wank, but it's cute, so I thought I'd bring it along.
Have you used it yet?
No, I only got it last week, so I haven't had the opportunity to use it. However, you know, the day is young.
Okay, virgin crop.
It's a virgin crop.
So tell me, how has it been since I've left? Have I missed anything?
Oh, I think you've probably bowed out at the right time. I think the industry post-COVID took a little while to recover. I think what has happened in the industry in recent economic downturns, that there's a huge amount of people that have rushed into the sex industry to obviously stopgap income, and it's just a big mess at the moment. I think a lot of people, we only will maybe see them for 6 to 12 months. However, beyond that is yet to be seen, because, you know, when you're new, it's very easy to be busy, but then, you know, getting clients to come back is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. And I think from a BDSM point of view, I mean, that's from an overall sex work point of view. It's what I saw in the GFC was a very similar thing. I guess I'm that old. I think what's happening is that people want to get into kink and want to offer kink as a provider, but don't necessarily have the technical skills or the knowledge and
Or the mindset.
Or the mindset. And as I always say, you have to be rotten in the right way.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people are, I would not say the majority of people, or I don't want to paint everybody with this brush or everybody with this crop, trying to sort of, you know, fake it till they make it. But I think what that's doing is not only damaging themselves and their brand and their income, but it's also damaging clients and, I guess,
The reputation of the whole BDSM industry.
Thing.
Yeah.
So if we pull back and look at the bigger picture on that, is what then do providers do if they want to upskill or learn or get the qualifications? There is no formal qualification so much anymore. I was lucky enough to do my apprenticeship at Salon Kitties, but Salon Kitties is no more. So where do you go? I think
we used to learn from each other.
Yeah, we used to
in
learn
our spare
from
times,
each other.
going to the dungeons, going to the private rooms, and kind of learn on each other, stitching each other up.
Definitely, and I think, you know, the sorority was definitely there. But I think because it's so hard to get work, and it's so hard to get and retain clients, I think a lot of people working in that space are very fearful and, I guess, closed off to providing training, because I guess there's the threat of this person's going to steal my clients, this person's going to steal my IP, all my business, my brand and everything else, which I can understand to a point. But I always say I want to leave the place better than I found it, and eventually when I hang up my whip, hopefully I can look back and say that I have. But I think it is very difficult, you know, while we can complain that the industry is definitely in a mess and that there is a damage to the reputation of BDSM collectively, what do these providers do to learn?
Yeah,
is the bigger
I always
problem.
thought that as well with my brand. Hopefully I left a good impression with all the stuff I was speaking out about the BDSM industry, but there's just a clusterfuck that got left behind, pardon my French, especially with the newbies that are looking at it as a quick cash grab and realising that they can seriously hurt somebody.
You can seriously hurt someone, and I think anyone can make a whip look pretty, but actually knowing how to use it is a different conundrum altogether. I think, like, particularly what I have heard of is some houses selling providers as fully qualified mistresses, which is not necessarily the case. And then those clients have come to me and said, I've had this experience and I want to have this experience. I paid for this experience. I didn't have it. And so I guess I'm the fixer of, like, okay, come here, let's have a look at what you've experienced, how did it go wrong, and how do we make this right? So that scares me a lot. However, what do we then do collectively as those of us who are experienced in the industry to lift up the newcomers who are genuinely interested in wanting to provide a good experience and be qualified to do that? So that's my biggest challenge at the moment, and also taking on an apprentice as well. It's a huge investment of time, effort, energy of the provider to someone coming up. I do a lot of education with couples, which I absolutely love because, you know, they've had the courage to have the conversation about, I wanted to experience this, I don't know how to do it, let's go and see a dominatrix and try it together. So I think
I used to train a lot of couples as well.
It's so much fun. I love it because the fact that you've had the courage to go there together and do all this stuff together is amazing.
I've also had a walkout because the stuff I was saying to the husband and what I was doing to him, the wife ended up getting mad and said, if I ever said that to you, you would have left me, you would have divorced me, you wouldn't have put up with that with me. The guy was on his knees, deep-throating a dildo with me spitting on him. And his wife just got so angry, she stormed out.
That's hilarious. I remember years ago.
So I don't think I fixed that marriage.
No. Well, maybe you did. Maybe it was to the point of expiring.
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I was working in an establishment, there was a couple that came in. It was the second time they had come in. And the first time they'd gone up to do a session and the receptionist had to go up to the dungeon and knock on the door and make sure everything's okay because she could hear this very heated screaming coming from downstairs. And so what had happened is that obviously they weren't in a great place in their marriage, and this is a common mistake that most people make, had thought that going into a BDSM environment would be helpful for them. But then when the husband was rigged up, the wife lost it and just started ripping holes into his balls and just this extreme level of violence. And the mistress in the room was quite junior and was quite stunned by what was going on. And so thankfully the receptionist intervened. On this particular night, they decided to come in. We'd all heard about the story because it's like, if this happens again, this is what, you know, we need to vet properly. We need to sort of, you know, understand where things are before that happens. And I had the couple ended up having to do a couples counselling session for about 2 hours with these people on a Friday night. And it sort of ended with, how about you just go and have a drink with each other and try and have fun because you're so angry and resentful that I consensually can't let you into a place of perceived violence. So that was kind of it, but yeah, it was very interesting. So,
yeah, I also remember a couple, the husband and wife, for the anniversary, he set up a gangbang for her.
Oh.
Yeah.
For him or for her?
Happy anniversary, honey. It's a room full of guys for you.
I remember when I was doing my apprenticeship, I had to have a master for 2 years, and I loved Master Alexander. He probably taught me more.
Oh, how is Master
He's
Alex?
good. He's good.
Do you remember Master Tobias?
Yes.
I had the biggest crush on him.
Oh, yeah, didn't we all? So for my 21st birthday, he decided, and he didn't tell me what it was, because he knew that I was an absolute brat, and I was, you know, he knew I had a crush on him, and he knew I liked him, and it was always, you're never going to get it, and it worked. You know, my oppositional defiance disorder is very, very strong, particularly in those days of my life. So he invited me over to his place and said, I bought you this fantastic present, and was, you know, very mysterious about what this present was, and I had no idea what it was. I was expecting, like, I don't know, something great. And go into the lounge room, and there's a vac bed. And I said, but I don't need a vac bed. What are we going to do? I don't. But what do I need a vac bed for? And he said, no, that's for you to get in. And so I was like, but I don't want to. He was like, no, you know you do. And he goes, it'll be a bit of fun. He goes, I really think you should consider, you know, going in for a little bit. So eventually I agreed to it. And it was, I trusted him. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm almost at the end of my apprenticeship. I'm going to probably learn something new from this. And so in the vac bed I go, and it was fun, quite hot. And so what he decided to do for my 24th birthday was have a gangbang with 21 women right next to the vac bed. And at the end, because I was a super brat, and he knew that by doing that, that would be a bit of a, you know, present, but also a lesson of self-control. And at the end, he's like, okay, happy birthday, out you get. You can take the vac bed with you, and you will need that one day. I'm like, oh, okay. Well.
Did you take that vac bed?
I did.
And never look back?
Yeah, I did. And a few weeks later, I graduated. But that was definitely an experience. But, like, you know, all the sounds, and I could feel the movement on the bed and all this kind of stuff. It was definitely quite a sensory experience that I'll probably never forget, and most likely will never have again.
No, still has that special place in your heart.
Always. But, you know, that was definitely very fun.
So how did you get started in the whole industry?
So I guess, I think if you look back, there was probably multiple signs, if you will, that there was going to be something very different about me. I think I used to be a show jumper, so I guess that's where my leather fetish and love for pony play comes from. I was lucky or unlucky enough to go to a very, very exclusive girls' school in Sydney, where I think I probably was the poorest girl there. I don't know how my parents...
We both went to those private schools.
We all did. We all went to those private schools. So I figured out very quickly that I was never going to be the richest. I didn't have the advantage of my father drinking with someone else's father to sort of, bring me favour, because my father passed away and was quite young. So it was just myself and my mother. I may have had a chance of being the smartest. So I guess I had to be the toughest. So very quickly I sort of had to, it was literally, a survival skill of getting through those 12 years in that particular school. And so that was probably a skill set that was learned. I became quite sexual quite young, and so I guess you sort of was very different to everybody else in school. Like I think I was one of the first to get crushes on boys, and then I also learned that, through giving them or not giving them what they wanted, that you can get them to do what you want, so I should say. And then I guess we all go through phases in our teens. Some of them stay with us forever, some of them don't. And I became quite gothic. I went through the raver phase. I went through all these kind of phases, but this whole goth aesthetic kind of stuck with me. And when I was about 16, I knew that all the cool kids were going to this place called Hellfire, and I didn't really know what it was. But I know
back when it was cool.
Back when it was at Black Market in Redfern, and that was if only, it was amazing.
It was good back then.
It was amazing. It was heaven and hell. So I knew that all the goth kids were going there, so I wanted to see what this, because everyone was wearing their clothes and it was cool. And it was back in the days where IDs weren't so strict, and I looked a lot older than I was, and I guess because, I was Miss Confidence, was confident enough to lie my way in through the door. So when I go, and upstairs the play party was happening, and I didn't know what was going on, but I was just amazed and jumped right in, had no idea what I was doing, but, I'm never going to die wondering. And I think back then what was really great about play parties is that here I am, this 16-year-old girl who had no idea what was going on, that was never compromised, that was safe, and that was looked after. And I thought that was really, really great. I met some great people then who are still friends today. And I look back on that time, obviously with rose-coloured glasses, but I think that's probably the lead up to how I got into the industry. So one of my friends said, you're actually really quite good at this. Have you ever considered doing this for a job? And I just started my first psych degree. And I'm like, I don't really want to work in a shop or an office, do I? That just sounds boring. So I saved up a whole bunch of money, and on my 18th birthday decided to, let's start. I'm legal now. I can get this done. So saved up a bunch of money, went off and got my official licence, and then marched up to Salon Kitties. I knew they opened at around about 10, knocked on the door and said, hi, I'd like to speak to someone about some training, please. And they just looked at me and they said, there's no one here, shut the door. I went, oh, okay. So I went and had a coffee, and I said, just maybe they're not in a good mood or something, or maybe there's a code word. I didn't know what was going on, but I guess I'd never take no for an answer. Went back again, knocked. So she's like, what do you want? And I said, I would like to talk to someone about learning how to be a dominatrix. I believe that you're the place to do it. And she's like, well, no, go away. And I'm like, oh. So I go away. I'm like, okay. Call the friend who made this suggestion. I'm like, is this some kind of setup or something? And because obviously I've never stepped foot in a brothel before in my life. And I said, what's going on? Why won't they take me seriously? He's like, did you bring the money? And I said, yeah. He's like, did you show them the money? And I said, no. And I said, okay. Go back, knock on the door, put my foot on the door. I said, before you say no, I want you to take me seriously. I've written up this draft plan of what I think I know, and also I've saved up $10,000 cash. Now now can I come in? And she said, oh, yes, you should come in. And they didn't really have formalities. They sort of had informal training and sort of skill sharing, but nothing sort of formal. So I went in, spoke to Amanda, and she wasn't in the best mood, which is normal. Love her. At least she was consistently inconsistent. And she said, why do you want to do this? And I said, well, why not? And I said, this is why. And I said, I know how to do this roughly, and there's a bunch of stuff that I don't know. And she ripped it up. She says, you know nothing. And I said, well, then teach me. And she said, this is going to take 2 years. And I said, well, I'm prepared to do it. So it was one theory lesson a week, one practical lesson a week, obviously the 2 years with Alexander, and then, as much time in the house as they could want you there, and also that you're prepared to give. So I sort of juggled uni. I also did like a bit of part-time work in a shop because we had to, and then did that as well. So, I mean, I paid through all my degrees through sex work. All 3 of those bloody psychology degrees. I was very fortunate. But I was very, very lucky, but it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of learnings. There was also, I guess, it's funny, a house full of dominant women. How well is this going to go? But probably. How
did you find them? Because I remember starting, and all the women were older than me, like a lot older than me.
Yeah.
And they were absolute moles. They just did not like me at all.
There were some that were lovely, but there's always the cliques, and there was 3 or 4 mistresses who were very, very cliquey and just didn't take me seriously. Didn't want to share any information. Wouldn't even acknowledge me or talk to me. I'm like, that's fine. You can do whatever you want.
I heard the ones who spoke over me. They talk about all the work that they've been getting and how much they've been booked. I was just starting out. I didn't know anyone. And they'd be saying, I've got 6 today. I can't believe these guys want to book me all on the same day. I'd just be sitting there. And then the table slowly started turning and I started getting more popular than them. And then I was trying not to be the mole back to them. But I'd always come downstairs. Oh, I'm so tired. Another one? Really? Oh.
I'm like, good on you. But also,
they ended up stealing my bag.
Probably, yeah. But also, the 6 is more likely too. We all love to inflate our successes when we're not necessarily doing so well. I mean, that's human nature. Is sometimes, especially in that environment where it's incredibly competitive. More so now. I mean, it wasn't too bad back then because I think BDSM. This is in the late 90s. Oh God, I sound so old because I am. It was still a mystery. It was still underground. I remember we'd have to go and take the business cards to all the hotels and leave them with the concierge because there was no Twitter. There was no, X we call it now. There was no, websites. There was no Scarlet Boo. There was none of that.
Very taboo. Early to mid 2000, it was very taboo. Even when I was stripping and people knew I was a dominatrix.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, I might as well have been a terrorist.
Yeah, exactly.
They were like, keep away from her.
Keep away from her.
What do you think I'm going to do? Hook someone? As soon as you get me in a private show. That costs extra, mate.
Exactly. And a lot extra and probably more than you have. But
I did notice there was, even though some of them are very sweet, there was a lot of competitiveness.
It is.
And even when I started doing well and winning awards, and I think I even remember it was during COVID and I messaged you.
Yeah.
And it was one of these dominatrixes that got so upset that I had got a clothing sponsor. That she had to write something really nasty under my photo about the photos are a bit blurry.
Oh, imagine.
And I called her a Karen back and she got so offended. And I said, may I retire before this ever happens to me?
Yeah. I mean, it's just the competitive nature. It's always we want to feel good. We want to win. We want to be successful. But we should want that for everybody. And I just think it shows that's just a classic manifestation of behaviour of insecurity. And I think it's, unfortunately, I always say, if we're rotting from tops disease, as some of us can do, I always say, take your craft seriously, but never yourself. We are templates for other people's fantasy, and I guess we are here to make that happen. So it's not about us. It's about them. So therefore, we have to be the best that we can be, to be able to make sure that they achieve this fantasy because they're investing time, money. Some people take years and years and years to have the confidence and conviction and the cash to be able to act on that fantasy. So therefore, you've got to be the best that you can be. And why should you therefore be that way to other people and stop those advantages? I think one of my clients said, he recently said, I want just to tell you that I do play with other mistresses and I welcome it. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. You're here because a lot of people are bored in their marriage. Why would you then want to go and be with just one person? Because you're then going to be bored in this dynamic. So I welcome it. Go play with other mistresses.
That's the whole sex industry. There's so much choice. That's why I could never date a man that was got escorts. Because, you're competing with a whole heap of women there.
It is. It's a huge amount.
Same with a man that was addicted to porn. There's no way. Because our relationship is just one category. It's not going to be multiple categories.
Yeah, it's got to have multiple facets because it's not just there's a side of us which is our dominatrix side, but there's also many facets to us collectively and of our personality. So it's kind of like,
yeah, he'll see the dominatrix side come out when he makes me mad.
Yeah, consensually, of course, darling.
That's where it really comes in handy. If anyone tries to piss me off, oh my goodness.
Well, it's
just crack my knuckles and let's go.
Let's go. She's got a good knuckle crack.
I need to say a few words to them.
It was funny. Like I think I was flying back from somewhere because I've been touring so much. This gentleman said to me, he's like, "Oh, you can really do some damage with her nails." And I said, "Thank you, I have." Actually, I need to get them done tomorrow. But yeah, it's about, I think the industry at the moment is not great, but I have hope. I haven't lost hope yet. No,
for me, I do see it going down a lot now that I'm not in the industry and I've stepped a whole heap back.
Yeah.
And I've seen that with the oversaturation of OnlyFans, and every second girl with a honey birdette outfit's calling herself a dominatrix now. And the girls who mocked me in the past for being a dominatrix are doing dom work now. So make up your mind, girls. Yeah, and doing it badly, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, when you go onto like a Scarlet Blue, I was with a friend the other day and she's like, maybe I'm going to rent a dick. So I said, okay, let's have a look at Scarlet Blue and let's just see whether we can find anyone. But while I was there, I was like, let's just have a look what's happening in Sydney from an escort perspective. Pages and pages and pages and pages of women.
There used to be only a few on there.
There used to be about 5 or 6. I don't think there's more than 20, maybe more than 30. All wearing the same 2 or 3 honey birdette sets, all shot by the same 2 or 3 photographers.
Oh, Richard Arthur,
Hello Miss, and Carl Clifford. All fabulous. All shot in the same 2 or 3 hotels. And when you look at their profiles, all saying very, very similar things because everyone's ripping each other off. And I'm like, so as a person who would want to book one of these escorts, how the hell do you choose? Who's got the courage to do something different? Not many people. And I think those who do have the courage to do something different are probably disadvantaged because it's too much. So therefore it's kind of almost like this sanitized version of what sex work can be. And if you're not full of hair extensions and Botox fillers, I think that looks great, but like that's not for me. I mean, like my boobs are natural because I'm too scared to bloody get them done, and also I'm too old. Like,
You're never too old for breast implants, bro.
Oh no, that's true.
They're still going to stay perky even in the coffin.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But except they're not going to burn if you cremate.
I don't even know what I'm going to do when I pass away.
Maybe a bit of both.
Oh no, actually, maybe. I know that I want my funeral. Isn't this morbid? But it's fabulous. A cross between, the Romeo and Juliet when she's dead. You know how it's all candles and neon and flowers and it's all dramatic. And then Oliver. So I want like this Victorian-esque funeral. And, when they say, she want you to be happy. I'm like, no, motherfuckers, you fucking cry and you fucking mourn because it's not good that I'm not here. So, yeah, that's a long way down the track. And I can't believe I've actually thought through to that detail. But I just want it to be fantastic. And I want everybody to wear black and look amazing. Please. Please. But we don't have to worry about that for quite some time, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Hopefully not. So, yeah, it's like, do we dare to be different? I think from a BDSM perspective, like it's all horses for courses, and not everybody needs to be a template of what a dominatrix should look like. There's a classic dominatrix, but there can also be a new look. Like I remember when I was working at a BDSM establishment, there was obviously me. I'm 5'4", I'm curvy, and I'm over a size 12. But I also have a huge amount of experience. And it's like, you can't be successful because you're fat. And I went, can't I?
I got told that I had to retire because I got older. And I thought, dude, all the prime ones are over 50.
Exactly. Being a dominatrix.
I loved the older ladies, and my age worked against me so badly. They'd always take an older lady over me. The experience, the one that they're going to be scared of.
But also, I think being a dominatrix is like being a good bottle of red, because the more you mature with age, the better you're going to taste. So therefore, I've probably got another 25 years left in me maybe, but I don't know. Let's just see. What do I get after that? Like, what crop do I get then?
A golden hook.
A golden hook.
An anal hook.
An actual golden something, like actually made of gold. But, we worked, so there was me, there was someone who was 6'4" without heels, there was someone who was like dreadlocks and tattoos and like a huge amount of diversity, which I thought was fantastic. But the owner of the establishment really hated that because you had to look like one particular provider for you to be successful because that was the person who was getting the most work.
Is that our friend?
One of our many friends, yes. So, but I think there is room for the classic dominatrix, and she is beautiful, and she's, again, been in for multiple decades. Good on her, keep going. But also allow room for people to be different. I know I've trained somebody who only wanted to have pink cuffs and pink leashes, and I was like, well, that's your brand, go for it. But have the confidence to be uniquely you and let that come out in your sessions. I know, like, in my dungeon, I only have candlelight and neon because, personally, that's what I like. I like the incense to be frankincense because I find that particularly beautiful and arousing. I personally like leather, so I prioritise having leather everything. I have a leather sleep sack instead of my back bed because nails and latex isn't exactly a good ride. But that's my personal preference, and that's not for everybody, and that's okay. But does that make me not successful? No. Does it make me different? Yes. So to that, anyone who's got anything to say to that, I'm sure they're going to come at me, and I will welcome those comments.
I noticed when I embrace my own individuality and stop trying to copy everyone else and try and look like them and wear the little bobbed wigs and everything.
No, because...
And then played up to okay, you think I'm young and you think my name is quite silly. I'll play up to the silly sadist.
Yeah.
And it scared them more when they thought that I was a complete idiot that didn't know what I was doing mid-session.
Yeah.
Oops, off my meds. Had no idea which toy to pick up. I'd pick up the big one and go, oh, I thought you said that you wanted the small one. This is small for me. With one the size of two fists.
So do you miss it?
Do I miss it?
I think you do.
I miss it from the point of view of the actual BDSM. I miss it because I do see it as an old lover for me.
Yeah.
I miss that. And it's one thing that I'm trying to get past and try and have a normal relationship. Try and have a normal Christian relationship and not have a relationship where I'm with some sweet Christian man one day and suddenly ask him to start choking me.
Well...
Yeah. So... from that point of view, I do miss it, and I do realise that I was re-scripting trauma that happened in my life, and it's one thing I have to deal with it and not go and play it out and play these scenes over and over to deal with them. So it's kind of something I've put in God's hands for me to deal with, and just acknowledge that, that I do. I'm still have those feelings. I miss my old tens machine. That was my best lover.
Do you want to borrow mine?
No.
Okay. Are you sure?
No. Don't want to go there.
No. I'm so proud of what you've achieved.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so amazed. I'm so proud of you. It's been amazing to see where you were and what you've become and how you're using your voice and your strength, your light. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
The last thing I ever wanted to do, and I will never be, is one of those Christians that goes away and comes back and starts pointing and people telling them that they're sinners. I was there. I know people do what they do for a reason. Even though I'm like anti-porn now because I've seen where porn leads to, I'm not going to hate the people that do it.
Yeah. When is porn and choking going to stop? Is that trend over now?
No.
It's not, is it?
No, it's getting worse. Because
that's one thing that really frightens me, like especially choking and clients asking for choking. Obviously, I know how to choke some, but not everybody does. And I think there's been a few cases of people being killed.
Passing out like I did with my ex.
Well, yes. Whoops. Well, it was a teachable moment, perhaps.
Oh, no, I broke up with him straight after.
Yeah, probably a good thing. Well, that was a teachable moment. Piss him off. If in doubt, chuck it out.
Yes, exactly.
But, yeah, the whole choking trend petrifies me.
Yeah, and the stigma around being in that industry, people assume that you are going to attack someone straight away. They don't realise, okay, we know the difference between consent and non-consent. We also know that there's a difference between sex and rape. And I see attacking someone as a rape, and I would never do it.
There's definitely sexual assault.
No, I would never, as soon as I'm behind closed doors with a man, start getting out the whip and whipping him like he wishes.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I wouldn't be in a relationship with someone and then one day he comes in the bedroom and I've got him hogtied and, I don't know, pegging him. It's something that'll never happen. It's a consent thing. If they're not enjoying it, then I won't enjoy it. I'll feel like a monster.
And that's the thing with, I think, when you share with people that you are a dominatrix or you're interested in BDSM or whatever, there's all these assumptions that you are this whip-wielding Satanist on the verge of murdering terrible person that's going to do all this kind of stuff. And I think while as a society, we may be progressing in some ways. I think we're probably regressing in many other ways as well, because there's all these assumptions. I think maybe a lot of it's got to do with how BDSM has been misrepresented in mainstream media. It's something that I've spoken about quite a lot. It's kind of like, oh, God. There's been shows where I think Billions, they got someone, like they consulted with someone about that, because I've only recently started watching that show. And I'm like, okay, well, at least they've done the homework, but there's been a few other shows, and let's not talk about that.
50 shows.
Mercy. Boy. Okay,
well, now we've got Baby Girl as well. And
it's kind of like, it's put it in mainstream media, make it okay, normalise it, if you will, but all it's really done is just... I think
they would be bored if they saw how it was really behind.
Yeah, because I think, like, when people come into it, it's like, well, how are you at waiting? How are you at cleaning? How's your stomach with cleaning up other people's bodily fluids? What do you mean? Piss, shit, cum, blood, everything else in between.
Not surprised. Like, the first time I realised there was just so much shit involved. Pardon my French.
So much shit.
But so much. I'm so immune to it now. That doesn't bother me. My arms were covered all the way down my gloves, everything. I learned to wear anything that was easily cleaned.
Exactly.
Don't wear your best lingerie. Yep. And the smell of amyl and human excrement still haunts me to this day.
I still get headaches from the smell of amyl. A friend in the fridge. Yeah, but I think, like, the mainstream media misrepresentation hasn't helped. And I think access to too much access, or easy access to BDSM, has helped, but also hasn't helped. I think, does the pendulum need to swing back to maybe the days where it was harder to access, where it was more a niche within a niche? Maybe. I think it was probably more respected in a way. I mean, I think there'll always be taboo around it, but I think the stigma around BDSM, and on top of that being a sex worker who sells BDSM, is becoming more and more. I recently heard of someone who was fired from their civvy job or corporate job because they got outed of it being a sex worker. And I thought, hang on a minute, this is 2025, this can't be so. So I looked into it, and I'm like, hang on, how does, there's laws to protect this. So what I did learn is that in 2020, there was a bill put in to amend the Anti-Discrimination Act to include sex work. So therefore, you couldn't not be hired because there was an assumption that you were, or could be, a sex worker. You couldn't be fired, you couldn't be disadvantaged, you couldn't be bonuses withheld from you. So I believe that was passed in Victoria, and I believe that was passed in Queensland, but in New South Wales, the first state to be fully decrimmed, the bill lapsed. So therefore, this person...
That's what I find really confusing. It's a legal job.
It's a legal job. So therefore, if you choose to have a civilian job and use sex work to supplement your income, or whatever you choose to do, it shouldn't necessarily matter. But again, it's because the stigma around it is becoming more and more... I don't even have the right words to describe it. It's fucking whack. I can't believe we're in 2025, and I would say that every single sex worker that I know is shadow banned from X/Twitter. It's becoming more and more harder to survive on social media. I think I'm on my 6th or 7th Instagram account, and mine is so boring. I used to be really sort of engaged with the community, take a lot of effort in creating content, which I do to a point, but I'm not going to spend all my time trying to get followers. I think I've only got 600 followers, but that's the whole thing. It could go right now.
Oh, most of them buy their followers. Come on. Let's be real. Most of them buy those followers. You see it go from 1,000 to
20,000.
To even more than that, to 100,000 overnight. And it's like, and they're all like these body counts.
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered with it, because I know that eventually it could go, and the only reason why I sort of keep Instagram or bother with Instagram is the connection to the community. Like, I'm lucky enough to have travelled all around the world and met some really great people in the industry, clients, designers, fetish providers that I love talking to and get inspired by what's happening around the world. And I know that multiple times that I lost my account, that's the first thing that you miss. But I'm just like, hang on a minute. I am doing a legal job in Australia where the laws protect me. However, the community guidelines are aligned to US law where it is illegal. So therefore, in the international law space, in social media, how does that work? Make it make sense. How am I being disadvantaged? I mean, my Instagram is so boring. I'm like, here I am at the Louboutin store buying shoes. Here I am on a plane. Here I am standing in front of a mirror, and I never say anything, I never do anything. I never write anything. So that's it. That's how I pop up once a week of like, here I am. I'll do one today and share it when the time's right. But it's so boring. It's so boring. But I'm just like, you see all these people who take it to the limit and get by. And I've noticed, especially in the past 12 months, people are overtly talking about touring, which is against the community guidelines, overtly talking about the OnlyFans. I'm like, how do you survive? I mean, it's great that you do, but like, what's the secret?
No, they get around it somehow.
Somehow.
But they don't understand in the long run, and I can tell them from experience, once you leave that industry, that stigma is going to follow you.
Yeah.
And it's going to follow you pretty bad. Because when I left and got a Sunday school, started serving in the Sunday school, guess who got openly outed and dragged in the media?
Yes, you did.
No other job would they do that.
No.
If I decide to become a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah. So how did you recover from that?
I cried for the entire day. Spoke to the pastors of the church who said it's fine. Our church is in the media all the time. Write it out. Had a few death threats from so-called Christians around the world. And my mum made me laugh at the situation. The women at Outreach made me laugh at a few of the stuff. But things turned around.
Good.
It started working for me.
Yeah, good. Because that's the whole thing. It's just, like there's, if you look at like the teachings of Christ, it's acceptance, there's no judgment, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes it doesn't always play out in real life, does it?
Yeah, I think it was like bound to happen, because as soon as I put the photos of my Sunday school class on there, it's, I don't know, like I wasn't the type of person that the media would be following. So it could have been peers that outed me as well. Because
probably you have ruffled a few feathers over your time.
I have. Even up until recently, I'm still ruffling a few feathers. I actually had quite a lot of them delete me off Instagram because I said I will never go back to the industry no matter how much they pay me, and I'm always getting offered to go back, and my goodness, delete, offend. I'm like, sorry, that's how I feel.
And why can't you evolve? Why can't you grow? Why can't you change? And why can't you not look back?
I think a lot of them are upset because I didn't disappear afterwards. Like I was doing very well. I was successful. Then during lockdown, I went through a rough, dark patch.
You did.
And instead of helping me, a lot of them were like vultures trying to tear me apart. So when I disappeared for a while and then popped back and then started doing better than ever, oh my goodness. I wonder what happened to the ones that made up rumours that I was living on the streets and I don't know, a junkie. Like, what story do you make up now to
imagine
to cover
being that person where the best that you can do is sit there conspiring rumours about someone else because you're jealous? Like, imagine, that's why I always ask myself, imagine living inside that skin. I'm like, how it takes a lot of energy to be that negative.
And a lot of them are old enough to know better in that prehistoric age of theirs to not do this, because it comes around back on them, and it actually makes the clients turned around and pointed back at them and go, oh, you lied. And there she is. She's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It was just time for you to move on. And I remember you were going through absolute hell. Yeah. And again, I'm so proud of you because you turned this around. You have made your life better than it ever has been, and you will continue to go from strength to strength. And I fully support you. I celebrate you. I think it's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, why can't we embrace change? Why can't we celebrate people who have been in the industry who choose to get out and do other things?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to show girls. There is a life outside of it. You're not stuck there in a stigma of what are they going to do when I leave? I got outed around the world. People know what I do. Yeah. I get recently at work as well, someone said that they seen a video of me. I cut to the chase. I went to HR and just said, there's a video going around about me.
I would have asked them, how long did it take you to come, motherfucker?
Oh, it was a woman.
Well, who cares? I mean, hopefully if it was quick, I'm a naughty girl.
Yeah. But, no, it's, people are going to talk about you regardless. Yeah. Even back when I was a girl that never been kissed, a pure virgin in high school, there was rumours about me being a slut and I never even had a boyfriend. So I'm so used to people talking about me regardless, coming to their own conclusion, their stories about me.
Oh, let them talk.
Yeah, it's like, that's what I'm telling girls. Don't be scared to leave the industry. There's probably a better life for you out there.
Yeah, and it's like there's some things in life have an expiry date. And it's like with anything. Like if you want to do the same thing for a long time, which I have, do I want to exit right now? No. I was in the process of writing a book and I actually had to stop it because I'm like, I don't actually think I have enough or I have lived through enough to do the book justice with chapters. And I've just clocked 25 years. I'm like, God almighty, this is going to be one hell of a book. But I think with anything, like if you want to do something else, have the courage to do it. And that's okay. And it's just, it comes down to everything. Like it's acceptance. And a lot of people just are so, I guess, affected by their own insecurities that they can't see that, which I think is very sad. It's very sad. Yeah. But, you know, I do hope, you know, that one day they will have the EQ to be able to, you know, have a bit of self-reflection. Because
I swear there's some ladies in that industry still that should have retired at least, 10 years ago. And you can see they're like walking zombies.
And it is.
They're
and like if
barely hanging on.
If you become bitter and if you have all this resentment, it's going to come across in how you work.
Oh, it does.
It's like in a civilian job. Yeah. Say, for example, if you work at a cafe for 10 years and it's like, I'm so sick and tired of serving up the same bacon and eggs and the same customers come in and then you're like giving a half-assed thing, you're going to get fired and then you're miserable. So therefore, go and work another cafe or go and learn another skill set and go and work something because it's just a job. At the end of the day, it defines us to a point, but there's so much more to us than what we do for work. There's who we are as a person, how we treat others, our likes, dislikes, music that we like, whatever, all of it.
And I think those skill sets can be used in civilian work because the BDSM work for me in nursing.
Yes.
It is so similar. It isn't funny. We're working with a lot of bodily fluids, needles, everything, those enema bags, those everything.
Actually, I caught up with someone that we both know who's retired from the industry. We both used to go to the same gym.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she's retired from the industry now, which...
You mean the one that couldn't golden shower in her sessions?
Yes.
That's how small the industry is. We all gossip about each other.
Yes, I had to think about that for a minute, but yes, that would be her. So I think she's been retired maybe 6 months ago and caught up with her yesterday. Love her to bits and pieces. And she's now moved on to energy healing, which is done a lot of training, absolutely loving it, but it's very, very, very different. But she said that in one of her energy healing and I think hypnotherapy sessions, one of her client or patient had brought up that I think his wife, he was in his 60s, his wife was in his 80s, and their sex life was fantastic. They were having sex twice a week, which is amazing, especially at that age. Good on them. But he had this fantasy about wanting to worship her like a goddess, but every time he sort of brought it up, that she sort of dismissed it and thought he was being silly. So this person then went on her mistressing skills and said, this is how they have the conversation, this is how you set up boundaries, and this is how you talk about consent and all this kind of stuff. Then the next session, he said, thank you so much. It gave me the confidence and we're doing all this stuff in the bedroom now. This is amazing. I can't believe this is a dream come true. Thank you very much. So I'm just like, well, there you go. Transferable skill sets. Because it's the whole thing about negotiation. I know that when I've taught people how to negotiate consent, understand what it means, how to withdraw consent, they've come back and said, thank you, that's helped me, set up a boundary with my toxic mother. It's helped me set up boundaries with, asshole partners. I've learned to negotiate a better pay rise, all this kind of stuff. So there is a lot of stuff that is you can apply to everyday life that you can learn from, I guess, the basic principles of BDSM.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to talk about with you today. Okay. I wanted to know what ChatGPT thought about the pros and cons of BDSM.
Okay.
And I wanted to read this out to you to see what you thought. So, where is it? Here we go. So, the précis is BDSM, bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, and masochism can be a fulfilling experience for some people, but also comes with potential risks. Here's a balanced look. That's the operative word. Here's a balanced look at the pros and cons.
So, you want to do the pros, I do the cons?
Okay. I'm going to read you what ChatGPT thinks the pros of BDSM is. 1. Enhanced intimacy and trust. It requires deep communication and trust between partners. I would agree with that. Would you?
Yeah, to an extent.
2. There's 7. Exploration of desires allows individuals to explore fantasies and kinks in a safe environment. I think that's pretty bang on. 3, improved communication. Encourages open discussions and boundaries Encourages open discussions about boundaries, consent and needs.
It should be in a relationship anyway.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a tick. 4, emotional and psychological release. Can provide stress relief, catharsis and a sense of empowerment or surrender.
It can also feed on the negative side of it. If someone's already abusive, they may take it too far.
Indeed. 5, increased pleasure. Some people find BDSM play enhances sexual pleasure through power dynamics and sensory stimulation. Thoughts?
Yeah, maybe, but both partners, it has to be equally consensual.
Yeah, and I think for the increased pleasure, I know that like with sensory play, if you take away like the ability to see or touch,
it
will
like
amplify.
Little blindfolds and stuff.
Like a cute little blindfold. Like we've got to start somewhere, right? 6, structured consent and boundaries. I liked this one. Unlike some mainstream sex dynamics, BDSM communities strongly emphasise explicit consent and negotiation.
Yeah, that should be part of every relationship, not just BDSM.
Yeah, but it's I think it's paramount because that's where it starts and that's where it should start and end.
Yeah.
Well done, ChatGPT. I thought that was quite good. And the last one is variety and excitement. I think we're scraping the barrel here, but let's explore it. Introduces creativity and novelty into relationships, preventing monotony. I think that's not too bad for ChatGPT, and mine's like so untrained. I think this is the second time I've ever used it because I am old school and I like to do my writing myself, and I just go to Google. But maybe it's an opportunity for me to learn and grow. Okay, you ready to go into the cons?
Cons.
You are so primed for the cons. Okay, I'm going to put the little stand up. Okay, the first one, number 1, cons of BDSM. Potential for physical and emotional harm.
Yes.
If not done safely or consensually, it can result in injury or trauma.
Yes. Definitely the new ones, the newbies on the scene. And the men, some of the male doms that we know of, have used it as an outlet for their domestic violence and their violent tendencies. Yes,
and
I've seen that a lot.
The riggers.
Oh, yeah. Not mentioning any names.
No, we would never mention any names. 2, social stigma and misunderstanding. Some people may face judgment or discrimination for engaging in BDSM.
Yes, and I have even faced that in retirement. We all know someone who has faced that from being part of the BDSM community.
Absolutely. 3, need for, you're going to love this, need for extensive education and communication. Requires learning about safety measures, aftercare and emotional well-being. That's
like a majority of them that don't do it.
I mean,
they don't believe in aftercare.
I think it's a pro and a con. I mean, aftercare, I mean, the adult babies, they need so much aftercare, or the majority of them, in my experience. You need to allow a lot of time because I think there's a lot of trauma that can be unpacked in that session, and they're used as a vehicle to do that. And the aftercare, I mean, you've got to, I guess it's almost like someone who's doing free diving. You've got to take the time to come back to the surface again.
Yeah, I did that with every single client. I didn't want them to leave with the trauma of going back to that dark place for them. They always got the aftercare to speak about their experience. The only 2 guys that didn't get it from me was the guy that was covered in shit because I told him to shower many times. He didn't. He wanted to talk. Yep. And the guy who was into the vomit.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I was vomiting too much. I couldn't be bothered comforting him afterwards.
It's like
Bekes syrup.
Aftercare after the shower. Let's start with the shower and then the aftercare during the shower. Okay. 4, risk of emotional triggers. Certain activities may unintentionally bring up past traumas or emotional distress.
Yes, and I have encountered a client that did, he was trying to play out a rape that he had. This adult man who was raped by another adult man a few weeks prior wanted to replay it with a woman doing it. So he wanted to re-script his trauma because he was feeling aroused against his will against it. So yes, I didn't do that session. I told him, let's talk about it instead.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do feel that is, for a lot of us, we're re-scripting our traumas.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that can be a pro and a con. Sometimes it can help, or sometimes you genuinely just need to get some therapy. And then maybe come back to BDSM at the time as well.
Or find God like I did.
Or find God, or find all of it. Like the options are there for you, but just pick the right one for you at that time. I mean, have you ever referred to a client onto therapy?
Yes.
Yes, I think we all
Therapy and medication for a lot of them.
Yeah. But, okay, next one. 5. You'll love this one too. Power dynamics can be misused. In unhealthy relationships, BDSM elements can be used to justify abuse if proper consent and ethics are ignored.
Yeah, that's called domestic violence, guys. Especially you're trying to say everything is for BDSM reasons and I'm a master and I'm into this. No, you're just a violent asshole.
Well, I think like just thinking about that from a lifestyle point of view, because many people, myself included, like live in the lifestyle. But something I always say to people is like, okay, this is part of your sexuality. So if you just apply it to more of like a sort of vanilla construct, are you fucking that person 24 hours a day? No, you're not, because there's more that you do in your day other than be a mistress, be a slave, be a foot fetishist, whatever, or be a husband, have that intimate part of your relationship. You go to work, you take the trash out, you walk the dog, you go and see friends, you eat, you shit, whatever. So therefore, I guess when you are bringing it into the home or into the lifestyle or whatever you want to do, it doesn't have to be all the time. And it shouldn't be all the time, because then it becomes boring. And then it comes into the risk of power dynamics can be misused. If it's your turn if you live together, if it's your turn to do the washing up and you're the dominant one, just fucking do it. But you've agreed to do it. And again, like you've consented to do the washing up in your turn, just fucking do it. And I think I've seen that many times in the lifestyle when it becomes, the fantasy becomes reality and it all just turns sour very quickly because the fun's being taken out of it. You're applying it to a domestic setting and all this kind of stuff. So
yeah, I've seen a lot of male doms over the years make their partners ask permission to use the toilet, or they're getting on the floor on all fours so he could put his feet on them. It's, when does it end?
Exactly, because it has to have a start and end point. But if you want to do it 24/7, when I lived in New York, I had a domestic sub, Eva. She was amazing. And she was very much like, she didn't live with me, but she would come in, wake me up, bring the coffee, get me ready for the day, all this kind of stuff. And then when I'd finished work, she'd come and, catch the subway home with me. And that's the beginning and end. And that was like that was probably 4 or 5 hours a day of her time. And I remember when I was quite ill, I think I had a flu or something like that, I wanted to go to a doctor, but you know what it's like in the States, trying to get access to good bloody medical help, impossible. I was like, no, I'm just going to take a bunch of medication, go to sleep. And she slept on the floor next to me to watch over me. But I'm like, you didn't have to do that. But I thought that was so sweet and caring. So there are those really beautiful moments that can be part of the lifestyle, but it's something that she consented to or wanted to do out of care of a person, rather than like, oh, this is my mistress, so I want to serve you. It's like, no, you're actually really fucking sick and you can't breathe properly. I'm just going to like stay here. And like as an act of being submissive to me, she's like, no, I will sleep on the floor next to you. Maybe also she didn't want to catch the germs, maybe, but that was probably the smart thing to do. That was probably before COVID. But
yeah, I had a female sub and I gave her away to a male one because
no,
I could not.
You asshole.
Yeah, sorry. I had to give her away to a guy. I didn't want a female sub because to me it was too personal to hit another woman. Men, I had no problem with, but for another woman to hear her screams would trigger me, especially if it was coming from me.
Yeah. Oof.
So, no, I gave her away to a good guy. I could have sold her, but I thought that would have been a really pig thing to do, so I gave her over.
The last time there was a slave sale? I can't remember the last time there was a good slave sale.
Oh, I had a slave on last week that...
Did you?
Spoke about slave sales.
Oh, yes, you did have a I like fun slave sales, not actual, not so nice slave sales. Remember they used to have them at kink parties, sell your slave?
No, I never went to.
Oh, that was heaps of fun. It was like you could buy them for a time or whatever. It was a bit of fun. Okay, where are we up to? Number 6, physical risks. Some activities, for example, bondage or impact play, carry risks of injury if not done with proper technique and safeguards.
Yeah, I've been to the ER twice.
Actually, I remember there was a client that I had a long time ago who, absolute masochist, and I honestly believe the masochists, the true proper masochists, are dying out, because I think the sessions that I'm seeing now are a little bit softer, and that's all good, but as my neighbour said to me the other day, well, I mean, life fucks you up, and life, like, why would you want to experience that? I'm like, fair point. But his thing was nailing the testicles to a board and cutting the cock down the head. And it's something that he did at home. And I'm like, okay, I am going to have to upskill on this one because, like, I there's bleeding because, you know, the penis is a very visceral thing. I don't know how to stop the bleeding. So I had to, like, you know, go and get a nurse on standby and all this kind of stuff. So we did that session a few times. Great fun. But then it got to the point of him wanting to, because he absolutely hated his penis so much to the point where he wanted to have it removed. And he's like, I want you to do it. And
so many guys that do that.
I know, but this guy
castration fantasies.
But no, but this was
he wanted the real deal.
The real deal, and, like, you know, actually came and booked for a session and discussed. It's like, I want this gone, and I said, okay, I am not. I have, you know, there's many roles that I can play, but an actual medical doctor in real life is not one of them, because I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a surgeon, none of those things. I think if it's something that you want to do, I will support you doing it, but I would just need you to go and find a surgeon or a doctor who will do this for you, because there's practical applications of, like, you know, urination and all this other things that you probably have or haven't thought about. That he goes, no, I just want you to do it. I said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And he came back and said, have you reconsidered? This went on for years. And I said, no. And he'd gone down the route of trying to find a surgeon who would do this. And this is years ago. And I think things would change now with, like, a lot of, you know, reassignment surgeries. Yeah. It's becoming more popular. And I hope, you know, he has found peace by getting it removed professionally and properly. But this went on for years. And I was like, what a torment this poor man is going through. And, like, when he came to have the sessions, like, he was just already black and blue from doing it himself. He must do it all the time. So going back to physical risks, I mean, imagine if you didn't have any sort of training and you sort of thought that you could do that session and it all go horribly wrong, or were maybe pressured into doing that session and there was a chance of going horribly wrong.
You dated my ex who didn't let go when he was choking me and ended up panicking when I actually flopped on the floor. It's like, duh. What do you think happened? He was a fighter. So he should have known.
Of course. He should have known.
Yeah, but when I was by myself, I decided to go stick one of the hooks up me and then put a vibration up against it as well. Great at the time, but I ended up injuring myself so badly. I was so bruised up there. So I decided to swallow my pride and go see a doctor. So imagine me explaining to the doctor why I hurt myself. He kept getting me to repeat it over. And then he'd ask me why I do it. Then he'd ask me to repeat why I did it. And I'm thinking, this guy's going to lock me up.
Oh, he's getting off on it.
No, more like he's going to lock me up over because he said, what possessed you to put a hook up there? I'm like, oh, well, I'm a dominatrix. I was just experimenting with something. But no, I was actually trying to...
Well, you were. You were experimenting with something. That's true. Yeah. That's true.
But he just said I'd bruised myself very badly up there to never do it again. And
Wow.
So, yeah, I did. There is a lot of... you can hurt yourself.
You can.
Even if you are a professional.
Yes, true. All right, last con, point 7. I love this. Consent complexity. Negotiating boundaries, safe words, and limit requires constant awareness and mutual understanding. I like that because consent is complex. It shouldn't be complex, but I think, like, when you're getting into, especially like consensual non-consent or no mercy sessions.
I refuse to do no mercy sessions.
Well, I've got one client who I do a no mercy session, but it's only every couple of years. And I saw him recently, and there's obviously, I think there's some PTSD or something there, and we had to have the chat because there's been certain parts of the session where he's triggered by, like, it's a kidnap interrogation kind of session, and like very, very, very heavy caning.
I think we know this. He wanted me to tie him up and put him through the motions of being with a serial killer.
Oh, no. Different person.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I had to go watch a lot of Saw movies. I had to watch The Hostel. I had to get into that. I used to get my inspiration from The Hostel.
Yeah.
To get them into fear.
Yeah. But your consensual non-consent, because it got to the point where I knew that this guy was in deep panic and needed to get out of it. And I'm just like, I am going to have to take you out of this, and we have to talk that you obviously have PTSD and you're using this for trauma, and thank you very much for trusting me to go there. And I'm happy, like, with sort of the more torturous stuff, I said, but your mindset and your headspace is so triggered by this that this is actually not serving you in the way that you think. So therefore, I think we need to adapt the session of maybe like, you know, bring it down or something, like, and you have the option of pulling out, because I mean, like, and also like mentally you have to be prepared for like no mercy sessions, because when you have top drop, oof,
yeah, it got to a while where I had to read the session, because I remember Mistress Rubin said the best mistresses have empathy, they can read a session. You can tell when the good screams were happening, when the bad screams were happening. You can see in the guy's face when he was trying to put on trying to look brave for you, but yeah, I would just pull away and just move to psychological damage for a while before I go on to back physical.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I wanted is completely scar someone. Yeah, exactly. I wanted repeat clients. I didn't want to destroy someone completely.
Yeah, or as I like to say, you know, you hit to stuff it in the right way. So, yeah, I think ChatGPT did quite well. What do you think?
I think it did lovely. So what do you think about the new younger and younger guys coming into BDSM? Because when I left, that was the main thing for me. That was the beginning of the end for me, when I saw how young the clients were getting.
I think it's interesting, because I think like most clients, if you think about, I guess, like the heterosexual man's journey, you grow up, you get a girlfriend, you go to school, you do the degree, you get married, you buy the house, you have the children, you get into your late 30s and 40s, and then you go, oh, this is, what more is there? And then you sort of, normally like the average sort of client is sort of in their 40s plus, because you've got the time, space, and assuming the money to explore whatever fantasy you want to. But I think it's interesting that these young guys are just like, well, no, actually, I want to start now. Like I've had a client recently who was, I had to actually ask to see the ID, and it's been a while since I've done that, who was, I think, 18 and a half, who, is like, everyone's talking about how good, anal is, and I want to try it. I'm like, good on you. I think it's great, because if you're wanting to do like stuff earlier, you've got all this time. I had a client recently who booked their first session. You'll love this. 21 bastonado for 2 hours. I was like, amazing. This is fantastic. Like, good on you for having the courage and the clarity and assuming the EQ to research what this is, and picking like something so niche as bastonado. Like, this is fantastic. And he stuck it out for 2 hours and actually came back and did it again recently. And I was like, double thumbs up. That's a double thumbs up.
My experience was young guys were getting immune to porn. Before they could even get their first kiss, they wanted to go into something really hard on themselves. Not necessarily on me, but on themselves. They wanted to try all this stuff that just made me think, what are you going to do to your girlfriend when you get a girlfriend? Haven't had your first kiss, but you want to get a hook up your ass. You want to, I don't know, get pegged. You want to be hurt so badly. You want to be electrocuted. You want to grab the most scariest stuff and have it on yourself. They didn't even know what half the stuff was. They'd be pointing at it saying, I want to try this, I want to try that. So it made me kind of just sit back and worry and think, hang on, I'm part of the problem. These guys should be going out, as you said, just experiencing life. Get your girlfriend, get your first kiss, make love for the first time. But no, go straight away into just heavy anal play on yourself. You're going to be wearing diapers when you're 30.
Yeah. So, I think it was a period, I think it was last year or the year before, where I was having quite guys in the sort of mid-20s that will come in, and you'd have the session. They were fairly light, but there was about 3 or 4 in a row. I thought, what is going on? Well, we all know what's going on, but I asked the question of can you teach me how to date girls? I'm scratch my head. I'm like, what? Why? And because of, I guess, the younger generation, particularly those who are sort of, coming to age during lockdown, there's a fear of each other because of the Me Too movement, I think, which has done a huge amount of great. But I think for these guys who have had brothers and sisters, also brothers and cousins and, people that they know, who have been falsely accused of rape. I mean, because most of the time where there's smoke, there's fire, but that's not always true. Everyone has the right to be, innocent until proven guilty. But these younger men are just so petrified of being accused of something that they don't know how to date girls. Like, how do I do this? How do I kiss a girl? How do I, ask her out on a date without being rejected or being accused of being a creep? And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I've never encountered this before. So I think, collectively as a society, like when we were younger and we'd go off and sort of meet someone, you approach somebody in a bar and say, I think you're quite nice. My name's X. I'd like to buy you a drink. Now it's just like, you're a creep, out. And I think that's sad.
I think that's what, when I did my placement, and I did it at a nursing home with a lot of dementia patients, and that's what one of them actually brought up to me, because I walked past the workmen and one of them blew a kiss at me and I just went, ugh. And then the elderly resident said to me, why did you do that? All he did was blow a kiss at you.
Yes.
Relax.
Isn't that insightful?
Yeah.
That is so insightful.
Yeah. She said, what, did he do something bad? Did he... And I said, no, he just blew a kiss. And then, okay, I thought about it. I'm like, come on, maybe we're taking ourselves too seriously now.
Amen.
So next time, he blew a kiss at me. I waved back and it was all good. It was all friendly.
It was all friendly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's come to. We're so scared of each other now.
We're so scared of each other. We're scared. We don't know. The dating apps, I've maybe dabbled in it once or twice a long time ago.
I was on a prison dating app.
There's a prison dating app?
Yes, there is.
Is it really?
I was looking for commitment issues. I was looking for a guy that was had a life sentence.
Oh, right.
It's still on there, by the way.
Is there? Okay, I might have a look at
not dating anyone from prison, but I just can't be bothered taking it down.
Oh, yeah, true. Or, it could be on a quiet night, maybe something to have a bit of a look.
My kingdom spouse who's in jail, a life sentence.
Dating apps and the whole, it just sounds ugly. It sounds like we're all there for one thing, to find someone to fuck. And that's the whole thing. We have made ourselves commodities. We've made ourselves disposable. We're there just to do one thing. And I guess for those who want to have or find a relationship and meet people and, have more than just, 20 minutes of pump and dump, I think it's a epidemic that we're facing. And I think, how does that overlay into BDSM? I think we're scared of other people, and therefore I think we're becoming a little bit scared of ourselves in some ways. It's like, well, I'm not good enough to date somebody, so therefore I'm not good enough to maybe try these experiences, therefore I won't. And so therefore we're pulling inward and maybe, not living our truer lives.
That's one thing I have to be thankful for the BDSM industry, was I got to see the real man. I would have hated, I would have been the biggest misandrist if it wasn't for the BDSM industry, because I saw the worst side in stripping, and what I'm seeing online with these alpha bros and their Andrew Tate wannabes, red pill poppers and all of that. I'd be looking saying, oh no, men hate us, they all want to kill us. And that would have been my attitude throughout life. But then I remember I saw the real man, and yes, I still believe men and women can heal each other.
I agree. I believe you. I really, really believe you. And I think that we've had the opportunity to meet some most wonderful people in sessions, and I think we've had the privilege and the honour of seeing someone at the most vulnerable and in a form of their truest selves. And I think that is the most beautiful experience. And I think that's also very humbling. And it's coming back to what I was saying before about, it's not about you, it's about them, and having to, I guess, serve that person in that way, I think is truly beautiful. Like I've seen people, like especially after their first session, where their eyes light up, and it's like, wow, I can't believe that just happened, and that was amazing, and I was like, it's positively life changing most of the time, which I think is fantastic.
It made me also see everything. It made me see relationships in a different way. It made me see certain. Just men in a different way. It's just hard to explain unless you've been there in the industry themselves and just peeled back the layers of certain men and saw who they really were. And you see how certain relationships actually worked at the end of the day.
And I think, it's interesting. I was talking about this with someone the other day. Is monogamy becoming relevant in the modern day and age? And it's a question that I don't think can be answered, but I just think it's like, marriages are, I guess the lifespan of a marriage is statistically becoming shorter. We, I guess, maybe are putting up with less, so therefore we're calling time on it earlier.
We've also got more temptation now and more option and more variety, and women are competing with porn. Like in relationships, you just got that one person. But with porn, you got different categories. You got Asian, you got teen, you got cheerleader, you got this and that. So, we're competing with outside forces. We're competing that the guy is looking on Instagram for, I don't know, just liking other girls' pictures on Instagram.
Yeah. Escape.
So it's not like it was in the 90s where we kind of just focused on each other. And that's kind of the relationship I'm looking for. And if I don't get that, I don't want it at all.
Well, yeah, and darling, you deserve it. You very much deserve it. You very much deserve it. Are we at time? Oh, shit, it's almost 1 o'clock. So that was my question around, I guess.
Do I believe monogamous relationships work? Yes.
I think they can.
Seeing it now from the church point of view.
Yeah.
They're saying pray on it, put God first, work on your relationship together, don't look at outside forces. Yes, I do believe they work, and I'm seeing it all the time in church. So that kind of made me think it was not impossible. Even for people like me, because I've seen people in my sex worker background have great marriages as well.
Oh, definitely. I like being a lone wolf. Just me and Poppy, my dog. So we have great times. It was just interesting. It's just like, do we think it's because the majority of clients, I would say, shouldn't necessarily be there. It's interesting, over the years I've had requests of, don't wear any perfume, can you please not have that incense? I have a client, actually probably a few clients, who would so paranoid about getting caught that they would leave their phones or any sort of digital device in the office, at the gym or whatever, so there was no sort of option of being traced. I'm like, well, who's tracing you? The wife. Because, women's instinct it's a powerful thing. Women's intuition. Yeah. If there's something wrong, if we think there's something wrong, most of the time there is. So.
And you know what I noticed in a lot of the age gap relationships, where these older guys used to come there and these young wives that they used to have, they used to pick a sex worker or anyone their age, and that woman would be treated better than their wife. Their work wives, their side bitches were all treated better than their wife because they had that connection there. Same with my former sugar daddy. He left all the young girls, everything, and met a woman his own age, and he's so monogamous to her.
Oh, really?
Just date someone your own age. It's like, are you marrying the young one for a trophy to impress your mates? How long does that novelty?
Oh, the trophy wife, it's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was, until they start finding mistresses their own age.
Yeah, exactly.
So, last question.
Yes.
Would you recommend the BDSM lifestyle?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, sure. Like, if it's right for you, full-time is a big thing. It's like being poly. Like, it's a big consideration to do it full-time. But I think it's important to do before you, I guess, think whether it's right for you or not. If you want to get into the lifestyle, do your research. And there's a lot of good resources out there. I mean, FetLife is still going, and I think that's become absolute. I've met some wonderful people on FetLife, but the majority of messages I get these days, which I never respond to, is, hey, want to chat? Hey, you're hot. Hey, want to fuck? I'm like, what? But it's good to, I think there's a lot of good resources on something like FitLife if you wanted to join. I think it's important to do your research and get a good understanding of what could be right for you, tickles your interests, and sometimes it's actually easier to answer what you don't like. Especially when, like, a lot of clients come in and they're very nervous. It's like, well, what do you want to explore today? And the rabbit in the headlight look is quite common. So I always start with, what don't you want to explore today? What are the hard limits? Because then from there we can kind of navigate what the playground's going to look like. But sure, I mean, don't die wondering. Give it a try if you want to, and it's okay if you like it, and it's okay if you don't like it. But at least you've had the courage and the conviction to explore something that a lot of others people don't want to explore, or can't explore, or don't want to explore, or are scared of exploring. And I think it's going back to the stigma question as well. It's something that a lot of people don't necessarily share with other people or ever talk about with anyone at all. Like, I think it's where a lot of the nerves come from, and I think it's not like you go and have a session with someone and then, you know, pop to lunch and said, oh, how's your day been? Oh, good, I just got fucked up the ass by a dominatrix. Oh, yeah, how was golf? It's not within the conversation yet.
Yeah.
So I think I've always been very respectful of that time together is incredibly precious, because that's the only time that everybody's going to have to talk about it as well. So I hope that one day, you know, it is okay to drop into the lunchtime conversation, but most likely not.
No, but personally, from my con point of view, just from personal experience, to me it was like, no, for me it was like taking a small hit of Coke and it wasn't enough. And then I had to take more and more and more and get harder and harder into it. And that's something that may not happen to you, but it will happen to someone out there, that you will end up going harder and harder and harder. And a lot of these old guys with their backsides blown out, it started with that first.
Yeah, it's keeping the equilibrium. Like, where's the tipping point? Like, you got to have the balance. There's the light and the shade and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's... but people can get addicted to BDSM, as you're saying. Prolapse asshole.
Prolapse. Me trying to even live a normal life, I do still mourn it. I still miss it. I miss it like an alcoholic misses alcohol.
Do you want to have a go at the crop?
No, I want the hook and the tense machine.
I might know a guy.
No, it's all good.
No, I won't tempt you into
no, just good Christian boys now.
Just good Christian boys. Well, I hope that a good Christian boy is going to come your way.
Man, actually.
Sorry, man. I'm sure he will.
Mm-hmm. And there will be no hooks in our relationship.
No.
Only cuffs. The marriage kind.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks.
I know.
And on a sweet little note.
Yes.
But thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so wonderful to spend some time with you and talk about the old days and the new days and what's going on. And I'm so proud of you for doing this podcast.
Thank you.
And for everything that you've achieved over the past couple of years. And it is an honour to know you. It's an honour to call you my friend.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you, darling.
And all the best for the future and reigning over the BDSM industry.
May I blow
you a goodbye kiss? You're doing great, by the way.
May I blow you a goodbye kiss?
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you.